Do not move on to the next thing yet. Stay still where you are for a few moments longer. Some of the greatest turns in a life do not begin with thunder. They begin with one small decision: to stop, to grow quiet, and to listen. You were already reaching for the next task when my voice reached you instead. That is not an accident, and neither are you. I am the one who made you, and I am speaking now. Not from a distance. Close enough to be heard over the noise you have been carrying. I have something to tell you plainly, and I want you to hear it before another hour passes. What you have been asking me for is no longer somewhere out ahead of you. It has been released. It is near. I know how that sounds to a heart that has waited long. You have heard promises before. Some came from people who meant well and could not deliver. Some came from your own hope, dressed up to keep you going one more month. This is neither. This is my word, and my word does not need your circumstances to agree with it before it works. Think of how a shepherd moves. He does not wait for the flock to be in danger before he acts. He walks the path first. He knows where the water stands still and clean long before the sheep are thirsty. He sees the gap in the wall and stands in it. That is how I have gone before you. The road you will walk this month, I have already walked. The turn that worries you, I have already stood in. You have prayed in rooms where no one else heard a sound, late with the lights off, in words that came out broken and half-finished. You have prayed in the middle of ordinary hours too, while your hands were busy and your face gave nothing away. I heard the words. I also heard what sat underneath them, the part you could not say out loud. Nothing you brought me was lost in the sending. Here is something I understand about you. You have grown careful with good news. Disappointment trained you to brace before you believe. So when something good comes close, you check it twice, and then you check it again, and part of you stands back with your arms folded. I'm not angry at that caution. It was built honestly out of real years. But it will not decide this. Today I am the one holding you still, and I will not let you walk past what I have set in front of you. Some of what you called a closed door was my hand turning you. There were rooms you wanted entry to, and I would not open them, and you took that as a verdict on your worth. It was not. It was direction. A door I hold shut is not punishment. It is one of the ways I steer a life without breaking it. You will meet people in the coming season who walked through those doors, and you will understand what I spared you. You have asked me many times why it did not come sooner. I will tell you honestly. A roof is not set before the walls can hold it. Weight must have something under it, or it becomes a burden instead of a blessing. What I am bringing you has weight. It carries responsibility, it carries provision, and it carries people who will depend on it. You are able to hold that now in a way you were not able to hold it before, and you learned that strength without ever noticing it forming. Do not look for this to arrive with trumpets. It rarely does. It will look like a word from someone who had no idea what you were carrying. It will look like a name coming back to you at the right hour. It will look like a door opening before you have finished deciding whether to knock, and a quiet in your chest where the churning used to be. These are not small things dressed up as signs. They are the shape my work usually takes. Your part in this is smaller than you fear and steadier than you think. You do not have to chase what I am already carrying toward you. You do not have to build a case for why you deserve it. Stay awake. Stay honest with me. Move when I say move and rest when I say rest. That is the whole of it. The striving you have done for years, the pushing and calculating and lying awake to solve what was never yours to solve, you may set down now. There is one more thing, and it matters as much as anything I have given you. Something in you is being repaired at the same time. Not just your situation. You. The habit of counting yourself last. The voice that tells you to want less, so it hurts less when it does not come. The way you shrink your prayers to keep me comfortable. I am undoing that quietly from the inside. And you will notice it first in how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. I did not bring you this far to leave you standing in the doorway. I do not begin what I will not finish. You are still here, still breathing, still willing to listen after everything that tried to close your ears, and that alone tells you something has been holding you. It was me. It is me. And what I began in you is not near its ending. It is near its opening. So let your shoulders come down. Let the air go all the way into your lungs. There is nothing you must fix in the next 5 minutes. Nothing in your life is running ahead of my knowledge of it. The thing you have been dreading has already passed under my eye, and the thing you have been hoping for has already left my hand. Stay with me. I have more to say, and none of it is heavy. And hear this before we go on. I am not speaking to a crowd right now. I am speaking to one person, in one room, with one particular weight on their heart. If you are wondering whether these words could really be meant for you, that wondering is exactly how I know they are. The ones who assume such a message must belong to somebody else are usually the ones I came for first. Say Amen out loud right now if you believe I am speaking to you. Let me tell you about a young man named Joseph, because his years will explain some of yours. He was 17 when I gave him a dream of standing tall. Within a season, he was at the bottom of a dry pit, listening to his own brothers eat their meal while they decided what to do with him. They sold him to strangers for the price of a slave. He walked into a foreign country owned by another man, with no language, no family, and no way home. He served well in that house, and it cost him everything. He was accused of a thing he did not do by someone with more standing than he had, and there was no one to speak for him. So he went into a prison cell. He helped a man there, a servant of the king, and asked only to be remembered. That man walked out free and forgot him. 2 more years passed in the dark before anyone said Joseph's name in the palace. I want you to notice what I am not saying. I am not telling you that his years in that cell were pleasant or fair, or that he should have been grateful for the pit. They were not fair. He wept in that place. What I am telling you is this: the forgetting did not last, the lie did not stand, and the pit did not get the final word. When the day came, he walked out of that cell and stood before the throne of the land before sundown. Years of waiting, undone in an afternoon. Understand what that means for you. I do not need a long runway to change a life. I only need the hour to arrive. Everything that must be true for your turn is already true except the timing. And the timing is mine, and it is not far. Do not measure my speed by how slow the last decade felt. I move like the weather turns, slowly, slowly, and then all at once. There was another man, Daniel, who prayed with his heart torn open and heard nothing back. 3 full weeks he waited. He ate plainly, he stayed on his knees, and heaven seemed shut over him. When the answer finally came, he was told something that changed how he understood every silence afterward. His words had been heard on the very first day. The reply had left the moment he asked. What he had called delay had been a journey he could not see, through resistance he did not know existed. So hear this carefully. There is a difference between silence and absence, and you have been treating them as the same thing. My quiet has never meant my leaving. When you heard nothing, I was not deciding whether to help you. I was already moving. Some of what stood in the way of your answer was not weakness on your part, and not reluctance on mine. There are things at work above your sight, and I have been overcoming them on your behalf, and you will never fully know what I turned back. I know what the waiting cost you. It cost you sleep, and it cost you certainty. It made you smaller in rooms where you should have spoken. It taught you to answer the question, "How are you doing?" with a word you did not mean. There were mornings when getting out of bed was the whole of your obedience, and I counted it as such. You did not fail those years. You survived them, and survival was the assignment. Now let me tell you what I have been doing in the time you called empty. I have been moving people. There is a person you have not met who will matter greatly to you, and I have spent longer than you would guess getting them ready to recognize you. There have been rooms where your name was spoken while you were somewhere else entirely, tired and unaware. There are also things I have quietly taken off your road, a partnership that would have hollowed you out, a door that looked golden and opened onto a long fall. You grieved a few of those closings. One day you will thank me for them by name, and there is something you must not miss. While I was arranging what surrounds you, I was also rebuilding what is inside you. The person you were 10 years ago could not have carried what I am handing you now. Not because that person was unworthy, but because the shoulders were not yet set. You have been made steady. You can hear hard truth now without falling apart. You can be spoken well of without losing your head. You can hold a secret, wait out a delay, forgive a debt that was never repaid. Those are not small skills. They are the ones I look for before I trust someone with abundance. So stop reading your past as a verdict. It is not a ruling on your worth or a forecast of your future. Your history is simply where you have been standing while I worked, and the work has not been careless. There is not one part of your life I have handled roughly, even in the seasons when it felt like everything was being torn. Look at what is already different. Things that would have wrecked your peace 3 years ago now pass through you and out. You catch yourself praying before you panic instead of after. You notice when a room is not good for you, and you leave it without needing to explain yourself. You want less noise and more truth. That is not you simply getting older. That is me, working from the inside out. And it is the surest evidence that what I promised you is close. And notice who has stayed near you. Some people left when your season got long, and their leaving told you the truth about what they were there for. But a few remained. Someone still asks after you. Someone still brings your name to me in their own prayers, quietly, without telling you. I placed those people. Guard them, thank them, and let them see what I am about to do. The pit was never your address. The cell was never your name. You have been in transit this whole time, and the season you are standing in is the last stretch of it. Lift your eyes from your feet. The road is about to widen. If you trust me with what you cannot yet see, let me hear it from you now. Amen. There is a kind of trust that stays in the heart, and there is a kind that moves the hands. Both are real, but only one of them opens the door in front of you. All through the generations when I was about to change someone's circumstances, I first asked them to do one thing that made no sense to anyone watching. not because I needed what they held, because the letting go is what loosened their grip on fear. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you, into the harvest I am preparing. Now let me show you what obedience looks like when the evidence has not arrived. I once told a man named Noah to build something enormous on dry ground, under a sky that gave him nothing. No cloud, no warning in the air. Just my word and a great deal of work. He hammered for years while his neighbors watched and made their jokes, and every single morning he woke to the same clear blue sky that seemed to prove them right. He kept building anyway. That is what faith is, not the certainty that you were right, the willingness to keep working before you are proved right. I did the same with Abraham. I told him his family would outnumber the stars, and then I let him grow old. He and Sarah waited past every reasonable hope. Sarah laughed when the promise was spoken again, and it was not a joyful laugh. It was the sound of a woman who had made her peace with going without. I was not offended by that laugh. I kept my word anyway, at an hour so late that nobody could mistake it for good fortune or good planning. When it finally came, no one could say it was anything but me. That is often why my timing looks strange to you. If your answer arrived early, you would credit your own cleverness, and so would everyone else. When it arrives at my hour, in my way, you will know exactly whose hand it came from, and you will never be able to be talked out of that knowledge again. I also want to teach you how I like to give. When I fed a whole nation in a wilderness, I did not deliver a year's supply at once. I sent enough each morning for that day, and I asked them to come back tomorrow. Some of them hated that. They tried to store extra, and it spoiled by nightfall. It was not cruelty, it was closeness. I wanted them at my door daily, not once a season. If your provision has been coming to you in exactly this manner day by day, just enough, do not read it as my stinginess. Read it as my nearness. You have been carrying a worry you have never said out loud, and you have been solving it alone in your head at 2 a.m, over and over, arriving nowhere. I want it. Hand it to me. Not the polished version you present to others, the real one with the numbers and the names and the fear attached. I am not shocked by any of it. I have never once looked at a person's honest trouble and thought less of them. Look at how I keep the world. The birds do not plant. They do not store. They do not calculate. And they are fed. The wildflowers on a hillside are dressed better than kings, and they never labored a day for it, and most of them are seen by no one but me. If I take that much care over what lasts a season, consider how carefully I am holding a life I made to last forever. I know your worry is not only for yourself. Half of it is for the ones you love, the ones you carry in prayer without telling them. You have lain awake for them. You have wondered whether you have failed them, whether you gave them enough of what they needed. Bring them to me by name. I love them too, and I have loved them longer, and I am at work in their lives in places you are not permitted to see. Your prayers for them have not fallen to the ground. They are already ahead of them on the road. And hear me on this, because it is where you accuse yourself most. You are not behind. There is no schedule you have missed. The comparison you keep making between where you are and where you assumed you would be by now is not a measurement I recognize. I have never once compared you to anyone. I do not run one race with many people in it. I run one road with each person, and yours has been walked with more courage than you give yourself credit for. Let me also settle something about your worth, since it has been unsettled for years. You did not earn your place with me by performing well, and you cannot lose it by performing badly. My love for you is not a wage. It is not adjusted by your week. On your strongest days, I am not more pleased with you than I am right now, and on your worst days, I do not step back and wait for you to become presentable. That is not the kind of father I am. So set down the ledger you keep on yourself, the one where you record every failure in ink and every good thing in pencil. I keep no such record. What is written over your name in my house is not a list of your mistakes. It is my word about who you are and what you are about to walk into. Something is turning. You will feel it before you can prove it, and there will be a stretch of days where you are the only one who knows. Hold steady there. Do not go looking for someone to confirm what I have already told you. Stay with me a little longer, because now I want to show you exactly how I build a person before I lift them. When I chose a king for my people, I sent my prophet to a house with 8 sons in it. 7 of them were brought forward. Every one of them was taller, older, and more likely than the boy I actually wanted. And the boy I wanted was not even called in from the field. They had to go and fetch him. He came in smelling of sheep, and I told my prophet, "That is the one." Oil was poured over his head in front of his whole family. And then, do you know what happened to David? He went back to the sheep. No throne, no parade, no change in his chores. He carried the knowledge of what I had said about him while nothing in his daily life confirmed it. For years, he fed animals and carried water and slept outdoors, anointed and unrecognized. And if he had waited on other people's approval to believe me, he would have quit before his life began. That is where you have been living. You know something about your own calling that your circumstances have not yet caught up to. You have felt it since you were young, this sense that there was something you were made for, and you have been embarrassed to say it out loud because your ordinary days seem to argue against it. Your days were never the evidence. My word is the evidence. Something else was happening in those fields, and this is the part people overlook. A lion came for the flock, and David fought it and won. Later a bear came, and he fought that too. No crowd, no witnesses, no story told at anyone's table. When he finally stood in front of the giant that had frozen an entire army, he was not brave because he was reckless. He was brave because he had already been alone with something that wanted to kill him, and he had already learned in private what I would do when he was outmatched. So do not tell me your unseen years were nothing. You have had lions. You told the truth when a lie would have been cheaper and no one ever knew the cost. You kept your word to someone who could not have held you to it. You held your temper when you had every right to let it go. You paid what you owed slowly and with difficulty when nobody was watching whether you paid at all. You sat with someone in their worst week and told no one afterward. Those were not small mornings. Those were lions, and you won, and I was the one who saw it. David's road did not get simpler after the giant fell. It got harder. A king hunted him. He slept in caves with a few loyal men and a price on his head. And in one of those caves he had the chance to end the man who was hunting him, and he refused. That refusal, in the dark, with no one to admire it, is the reason I could trust him with a nation. I was not building a warrior in those years. I was building a man who would not take by force what I had promised to give. Hear me on that, because it is the difference between a blessing that lasts and one that burns out in a season. anyone can seize. Very few can wait for what is theirs and receive it clean. I have taught you to wait. It was the hardest schooling of your life, and you did not enjoy one day of it. But you can be trusted now in a way that many cannot. I have never chosen the obvious person. I called Moses when he was 80 years old, with a stammer, a shepherd's coat, and a crime in his past that had run him out of the only country he knew. He gave me a list of reasons he was wrong for it. Every reason was accurate. I did not argue with a single one. I only said this: I will be with you. That was the whole of his qualification, and it was more than enough. I called Gideon a mighty warrior while he was hiding, doing his work in secret because he was afraid. I called Jeremiah while he was still protesting that he was far too young to be listened to. I placed Esther in a house she never asked to enter, in a position she could not have planned. And then 1 hour arrived when she was the only one standing where she needed to stand. None of them felt ready. Readiness has never been the requirement. Willingness is. And you have been placed too. Where you live, the work of your hands, the people who cross your path, the strange turns that brought you to this exact life. You have called some of it a mistake. It was placement. There is an hour coming, maybe soon, when you will be the only person standing in the right spot with the right heart and the right history to do something that matters greatly to someone. You will not need a title for it. You will simply be there, and you will know. Let me tell you what I look for in a person before I entrust them with more. Not talent. I hand out talent freely, and it proves very little. I look for a heart that can still be spoken to. Someone who has not gone hard. Someone who can be corrected without collapsing and praised without swelling. Someone who remembers where they came from and does not despise the years they spent low. You have that. It cost you your pride to get it, and it is the most valuable thing you own. So when the change comes, and it will, stay the way you are now. Keep the early prayers. Keep the honest ones. Keep the friends who knew you before. Do not build your life so full that there is no quiet left for my voice, because it was the quiet that got you here. I am about to increase what you carry. I have no intention of losing you inside it. You are not the same person who first started asking me for help. That person has been rebuilt quietly, over years, in ways that cannot be undone. And the one standing here now is ready. There was a night on a lake when my son slept in the back of a fishing boat. A storm came down hard, the kind that experienced fishermen fear, and water began filling the boat faster than they could throw it out. These were men who had spent their lives on that water. They knew when a situation was beyond them, and the one they had left everything to follow was asleep on a cushion in the stern while they fought for their lives. They woke him with a question that came out as an accusation. Do you not care that we are going under? I want you to notice that the question was not rebuked. It is the most human thing in the world to look at a hard season and wonder whether heaven has gone indifferent. He stood up, spoke a word to the wind, and the whole lake went flat as glass. Then he turned to them and asked them gently why they had been so afraid. The answer to their fear was not the calm water. The answer was that he was in the boat the entire time. Sleeping, yes. Silent, yes. In the boat. The storm never had a vote on that. And you have spent seasons rowing hard and asking me whether I had stopped caring. And here is the truth of it. I was never absent from your boat. I have not looked away from your life for one moment since it began. Let me tell you about two men in a prison cell, Paul and Silas. They had been beaten with rods that same day for doing good. Their backs were open, their feet were locked in wood. They were in the inner cell, the one with no window and no mercy. And around midnight, with nothing about their situation improved, they began to sing. Not politely, loud enough that every other prisoner in that place lay in the dark and listened. Then the ground moved. The foundation shook, every door came open, and every chain fell off. And before the night was over, the man who had guarded them was on his knees asking how he could belong to me. Understand what freed them. It was not their complaining, and I am not saying complaining is forbidden. It was that they praised me before anything changed. They gave me the only thing they still owned, which was their voices, and I met that with the whole strength of my hand. That is what I am asking of you in these last stretched days before your change. Give me something before the proof arrives. A word of thanks in the car, in the kitchen, in the middle of a night when sleep will not come. Not because I require flattery, because the mouth that thanks me while the walls are still standing is the mouth of someone who has stopped negotiating with fear. Now I will speak about something harder, because I will not lie to you to make you feel better. There was a man of mine named Paul who carried a trouble in his body he hated. He asked me 3 separate times to take it away. I did not take it away. I told him instead that my grace was enough for him, and that my strength shows itself most clearly in the very place a person is weakest. He stopped asking after that, and he became the strongest man of his generation. So if there is something you have begged me to remove and it is still there, hear me carefully. My silence on that one thing is not indifference, and it is not punishment. Some things I lift off. Some things I carry with you, so that you learn how much of me there is. You have already discovered something in that hard place you would never have found in comfort. You have found that you can be weak and still be held. There are people who will need to hear that from you, and they will not believe it from anyone who has not lived it. And I want to tell you what my peace actually is, because you have been looking for the wrong thing. You have been waiting for peace to arrive as an absence of trouble. My peace is not the removal of the storm. It is something set at the gate of your heart like a guard on a wall, and it holds a position when your circumstances have not shifted an inch. It is why you can walk out of a difficult conversation steady. It is why you slept last week when, by all rights, you should not have. That was not your own strength. That was me, standing watch. Do not measure my faithfulness by how you feel on a given morning. Feelings turn with the weather and with weariness and with how much rest you got. My character does not turn. What I promised you when you were full of faith is exactly as true on the day you can barely pray. I have not changed my mind about you during any of your low weeks. There is also protection over your life that you cannot see and cannot count. Not every danger that came toward you got through. Some arrived at the edge of your life and was turned back, and you went on with your day never knowing what passed by. I do not usually show a person their spared disasters. I would rather they trust me than tally me. But I am telling you now so you will understand that the covering over you is real, and it has been active for years. Some of what I have been doing looks like loss from where you stand. Certain people are not as close to you as they were. Some doors you were counting on went quiet. Certain things you enjoyed no longer hold you the way they did. That is not decline. I am clearing ground. You cannot build what I am building with everything from the old season still lying across the site. What I remove because it will not survive where you are going. And I would rather you lose it now than have it fail you later. Your strength is not gone. It has been moved. It used to sit in your ability to manage everything and predict everything and hold everything together on your own. Now it sits in me, which is a far better place for it, because I do not get tired, and I do not run out, and I never once have to guess what to do next. Declare your Amen now if you know I have been with you all along. You have asked me for a map, and I keep handing you a lamp. I know that frustrates you. A map would let you see the whole road, every turn, every bridge, and how it ends. A lamp shows you the ground directly in front of your feet and nothing else. But a lamp requires you to keep walking beside the one who carries it, and that is precisely what I want. Not your independence, your company. So here is how it will go. You will get enough light for the next step, and when you take that step, you will get enough for the one after it. You have called that unfair on several occasions. It is not unfair. It is how you and I have walked this whole long road together, and it is why you know me now in a way that people with easier lives do not. Let me teach you to tell my voice from the others, because you will need this in the coming season. My voice settles you. Even when I say something difficult, there is a floor under it. Fear speaks quickly and demands that you decide this minute, before you have prayed, before you have slept on it. Anything urging you to move in a rush is rarely from me. I have never needed to hurry you into obedience, and I will never lead you into something that contradicts what I have already said. Test everything against that, and you will not be misled. Now think about a widow named Ruth. She had lost everything that once made her safe, and she was living in a country not her own, gathering the leftover grain at the edges of someone else's harvest, which was the work of the poorest people alive. There was nothing remarkable about her day. She was simply bent over in the heat, doing what had to be done, and the field she was working belonged to the one man who could restore her family's future. She did not engineer that. She kept working, and I did the placing. That is worth holding on to. You have wondered whether your ordinary days count for anything, whether the small faithful things you do add up to a life of any weight. They do. The work of your hands, the care you give people who never thank you, the standard you keep when cutting corners would be simpler. You are gathering at the edge of a field, and you have no idea whose field it is. There was also a fisherman named Peter, who had worked an entire night and caught nothing. Empty nets, aching arms, the whole night wasted. Then he was told to go back out and let the nets down one more time, in deep water, in the wrong part of the day by someone who was not a fisherman. Everything he knew from experience said it was pointless. He did it anyway, and what came up nearly broke his nets and almost sank 2 boats. I may ask the same of you. One more attempt at the thing you have already tried and failed. One more conversation you have decided is closed. One more day of showing up somewhere that has produced nothing. Do not assume you know the outcome because you know the history. The attempt after the last reasonable attempt is very often mine. And your faith does not have to be large. My son said faith the size of a mustard seed is enough to move a mountain, and he meant it. A small amount in a great hand is worth more than a great amount in a small one. So if all you have today is a thin thread of belief that has survived a lot of hard years, bring it. I am not looking for a strong performance out of you. I am looking for a hand held out. Keep planting. A harvest is not late simply because you cannot see it above the soil. Every kind word you sowed, every truth you told at cost to yourself, every quiet act of mercy that no one recorded, is in the ground and growing. The one who does not give up will reap in the proper season. I have never once broken that arrangement. Here is something practical I want you to do, and I mean actually do it. When my people crossed a river I had opened for them, I told them to gather 12 stones out of the riverbed and stack them on the bank. Not for my memory, for theirs. So that later, when the water was high again and their courage was low, they could point to the stones and say, "That is where God did it. You have stones. Go back and count them." The time provision came from a direction you never expected. The illness that turned. The person who arrived in your life the same week you needed them. The night you did not think you would survive, and you are here now, talking with me. The door that closed and saved you. Say them out loud. Write them down where you will find them again. Your history with me is the strongest argument against your present fear, and you have been forgetting to use it. There was a prophet named Habakkuk who looked around at his country and could not understand what I was doing. He argued with me honestly, and I did not silence him. By the end, he had settled something in himself. He said that even if the fields produced nothing and the vines stayed bare and the animals were gone from the stalls, he would still be glad in me. Notice when he decided that, before the harvest, while the fields were still empty, he made up his mind about my goodness in advance, and after that no season could steal his footing. Make up your mind now in the same way. Decide today before the confirmation arrives that I am good and that I am for you. Because there is a difference between a heart that trusts me when the news is good and one that has settled it beforehand, and the second is unshakable. That is what I have been building in you through every stretched year. Your roots have gone deep in the dark. That is why the wind will not take you. And what is about to grow above the ground is the part you have been waiting to see. Now I will say the thing I brought you here to hear, and I will say it without softening it. It has arrived. Not almost. Not one day. It has arrived, and it is standing at the edge of your ordinary life, waiting for you to notice. The season you have been asking me to end has ended. What comes next is different from what you have been living, and you will not have to force a single part of it. It may not announce itself. That is worth knowing in advance, because you have imagined this moment with a great deal of drama attached, and my best work is usually quieter than that. It will likely be a Tuesday, a short conversation, a name that comes to mind, a yes where you have grown used to no, an amount that arrives from a direction you did not consider. You may not recognize it as the answer until a week later, when you look back and see where it started. So do not shrink when it comes. That is the one thing I want to warn you about. You have carried lack long enough that you have learned to make yourself small, and small is a hard habit to break at the exact moment you need to open your hands. When the door opens, walk through it. Do not stand there interrogating whether you deserve it. You do not have to feel worthy to receive what I have decided to give. Nobody I have ever blessed felt qualified. They simply said yes before the fear could talk them out of it. There will be a voice that tells you this will not last. Recognize it and refuse it. That voice was built out of your disappointments, and it is not prophecy. What I give does not run out because your circumstances wobble, and it does not depend on other people's approval, and it cannot be taken back by anyone who does not like your name. What I establish, I keep. You will also be tempted to explain yourself to people who did not walk your hard years. Do not bother. Some of them will be glad for you, and those are your people. Some will need to find a reason it was luck or timing, or something you had that they did not, and no explanation you give will ever satisfy them. Let it go. Your business is with me. Now hear what I have promised about your strength. Those who wait for me have their strength exchanged for mine. Not stretched, exchanged. They rise the way a great bird rises, going up on the wind rather than beating against it. They run and do not tire out. They walk and do not faint. And this is for people who thought they had nothing left. You have thought that about yourself many times in the last few years. Notice what happens to your strength now. You are going to be surprised by how much you can carry without breaking. And every morning is new. My mercy does not carry over yesterday's ledger. Whatever you got wrong last week is not sitting in a pile waiting for you. Whatever you spent to get through the last month has been restocked overnight. When tomorrow comes, tomorrow's supply will be there, and not 1 hour before you need it. This is why I ask you not to borrow trouble from a day that has not arrived. You cannot use grace you have not yet been given. Something else is going to happen, and it matters more than what you receive. You are going to become provision for other people. What I am putting into your hands will not stop with you. There are people who will eat because of your table, who will be steadied because of your steadiness, who will hear about me from you and believe it because you clearly are not pretending. Somebody has been praying for help this year, and the answer to their prayer is going to arrive wearing your face. And the ones you love, the ones you carry in prayer, the names you whisper when the house is quiet, they are inside this too. I do not bless a person in isolation. What I release into your life will reach further than you can trace, into lives you will not live long enough to see settled. Your faithfulness has consequences that will outlast you. Let me remind you who is doing this. Not your strategy, not your discipline, though I have appreciated it. Me. And I have never in all of history begun a work in someone and then walked away from it half done. What I start, I finish. That is not encouragement I am offering you. It is a fact about my character, and it means your outcome does not rest on your ability to hold on tightly enough. So here is my word over your life as these hours turn. Peace on your house. Rest on your sleep. Enough on your table. My hand on your going out and on your coming in. Wisdom in your mouth when you need the right words. Favor in the rooms you have not entered yet. Protection over the ones you love, near and far. Clarity where there has been confusion. Steadiness where there has been shaking. Joy that does not depend on anything staying the same. You are not forgotten. You were never overlooked. You are not late, you are not behind, and you are not owed less than anyone else at my table. You are mine, called by name, held on purpose. And I have been closer to you through these years than the walls of your own room. Stay near me now. Not because I might leave, but because you were made for this closeness, and it will keep you well for the rest of your life. Speak to me in the mornings before the day gets loud. Come back at night and tell me the truth about your day. Keep your promises. Be generous with people who cannot repay you. Hold your peace when you are provoked. Live the way you have learned to live in the hard years, and everything I am adding to you will sit well on your shoulders. The waiting is over. The road widens from here. Walk it with your head up, because the one who made the whole earth has been walking it beside you the entire time, and there is nothing ahead of you that I have not already been through. Seal this with your own voice now. Say Amen and receive everything I have spoken over you.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.